Hey, Gabe, do you remember when we first thought about becoming full-time RVers?
Oh yeah. It was probably fall, September 2019, and we just had the idea, and wow, what a lot of questions we had. Do you remember all the stuff that we had to go through?
Oh my God, we had so much stuff. We had a storage unit that we hadn't touched in 5 years
Yeah, very little.
because we had moved within 10 months. We had two big moves across many states. And then we bought a big house and we kept all our stuff in that storage unit. Now, this summer, we moved across 2 states, set up a home base, and started full-time RVing. Now that some of the newness is worn off after about 5 months, would you do it again?
Absolutely. I'll tell you, it was scary. The thought of moving into less than 400 square feet after being in a mountain home that was over 2,000 square feet. But not once have I even thought that maybe I regretted it.
Yeah, me either. Me either.
Every day is new things still. 5 months into it, everything is still new, and we go through a lot of new things, but every single day I'm still grateful for it, and never have I thought that did we make the wrong choice.
Me too. So if you're considering the RV life, either part-time or full-time, you're going to want to stick around because we're about to go over 7 things to consider before you jump into RV living. Welcome. My name is Tanya.
And I'm Gabe, and together we are Breaking Home Base.
After selling our home and most of our stuff, we turned our lives upside down to begin a new adventure of full-time RV home-based living.
The scariest moment is just before you start, but nothing changes if nothing changes.
Our families may think we're crazy, but we're building life on our terms with a new way to approach career, relationships, family, health, and the stuff that accumulates in our lives.
Let today be the start of something new.
Making a big life change is scary. But you know what's scarier? Regret.
Number 1, open communication.
Everybody has a different idea of what living in an RV will look like. It's best to begin conversations about living on the road with the adults who will be leading this journey. This step is the most critical step to figure out your wants, needs, and desires for life on the road. If you have kids, you know they'll bring a lot of ideas to the table. So I suggest mom and dad get on the same page before having conversations with the littles. Gabe and I never camped together. Both he and I had camped in our youth, but never as a married couple. Honestly, I was completely happy living in a comfortable cabin in the mountains with an outdoor fire pit, as opposed to setting up camp with the bugs and bears. The side of full-time RV living that appealed to me was having my husband, dogs, and home with me on work travel assignments. Gabe liked the idea of new adventures with his mountain bike. Both of us wanted to travel up north more to see our grown kids and new grandbaby. The only way we could truly consider this size of a life change was straight, honest communication without interference from outside opinions. This is your life and your journey. Talk about it until you are ready for the next step.
Number 2, do your research.
In most cases, we investigate the next home we'll live in Before choosing a career, we research the cost of education, schools, jobs, and income potential. This is the time in the process that you research for further evaluation. Gabe and I both like to do research before we take a plunge. We didn't think RV living was an option for us because at the time, Gabe didn't have a remote job. We turned to YouTube and blogs and found out that the sky is the limit when it comes to RV living. No set rules or hard, fast traditions. It's literally whatever you want for your family. There's a huge RV community with great folks ready to help answer your questions on anything from how to get started to general maintenance on your rig. You don't want your only introduction to the RV life to be through the lens of an RV salesperson.
Number 3, introduce yourself to RVers and those who have real life experience.
This is a day and age where you can get a review on anything and everything in this world. Social media provides an abundance of real life reviews and candor about RV living. If you have the opportunity to rent an RV and take a short stay, I recommend that you walk the park and talk to people. I love it when I'm questioned if we're full-time. This is where we got the idea of whether we wanted a Class A versus a fifth wheel versus a travel trailer. First-hand recommendations clear the air in a fog of choices. My first interaction with a full-timer came with a lady I hired as a travel nurse. She and her husband drove their fifth wheel to the campground near location and settled in. She was happy, rested, and ready to do her job every day, whereas after 5 months on assignment, I was tired, lonely, run down from flying every weekend and living in hotels. She loved living in her RV, and seriously, the RV looked nicer than some of our apartments in the younger days. Talking with her really helped us understand that full-time RV living wasn't just for retirees.
Number 4, know your fit.
Unless you're solo, the fit means everybody who will live in that RV. One member of the family may jump without hesitation, another may want to try it before you buy it. It's important to evaluate your relationship and abilities to live within tight quarters. Fitting the lifestyle has more to do with sustaining the lifestyle. You may want to consider, how long will it be before we're clawing each other's eyes out? Nothing is worse than driving 30,000 pounds down the road with yelling and screaming for hours on end. Space on travel days is just as important of a consideration as space on park days, if you get my drift. Is your entire family cut out for this type of endurance? Let me promise you, this lifestyle change will most assuredly push the limits of even the strongest of relationships. Tiny living requires big work with relationships. It's not what we have in life that matters, but who we have in life.
Number 5, make a list of things to consider.
Your list will be different than ours. Your wants and desires will change through this process, so don't get too caught up in the individual questions on this list. Here are just a few questions from our list. Do you like to cook together, or only one of you? Do you love your cooking appliances and kitchen gadgets? Do you have a garage? How full is it? Do you drive multiple cars or have multiple toys? Do you need a king-size bed or can you manage with a queen? 1 bathroom or 2? How many clothes do you have? Do you want to keep all of them? Do you need to work and how will you make money? Are you okay with having a storage unit? Will you take a home base for storage, for health care, a mailbox, emergencies? It might feel like your world is getting smaller, but living with a certain amount of minimalism is liberating. Living with less frees you to see new things outside of the belongings.
Number 6, you don't need an RV to get started.
Some people prefer to acquire their RV before preparing for the road. We did the opposite. We committed to the process by minimalizing our possessions, selling our home, and choosing our home base in another state. As a couple, we answered every question about RV living that we could. We set an RV budget, made a needs and wants list, and started looking everywhere for our desired rig. After looking at multiple RVs, our wants and needs changed. I was willing to sleep in a queen-size bed in order to have a half bath. Gabe was set on having a single axle, so he decided to deal with a smaller shower. We both wanted a good living room space, so we went with a super slide on a Class A diesel pusher. At the end of the day, this will be your home. We never wanted to feel deprived, and we don't. And you don't have to either. Everything will be a new experience.
Number 7, prepare your stuff and guard your relationship.
The entire process is an emotional roller coaster, especially for those of you who will make an abrupt change by selling your sticks and bricks. The RV lifestyle has become more popular and enticing as people shed the need to accumulate more stuff and embrace experiences over excess. Once the decision was made and we knew our fit, the tough job of making it happen took forefront, and it wasn't easy. For me, my possessions meant independence. I was having a difficult time letting go. I turned to the Marie Kondo methods of tidy living to move through my belongings. Even Gabe began to question his items and asked, "Does this spark joy?" With a lot of love and understanding and at times tears, we helped each other divide everything into keep, sell, donate, and pitch piles. With the day and age of a pandemic, we donated a lot. You just have to keep moving and reflecting on why you're doing this.
Tanya and I want to thank you for joining us today.
We want to encourage you to continue your passion for the RV life.
We'd appreciate some simple support through a thumbs up or just shout out in the comments.
And if you wouldn't mind, we'd really like it if you would subscribe to our little tribe.
We'll see you next time.
Bye. Okay.